you're like me and you grew up in the 90s and 2000s, you may look back fondly on the Y2K era. That era of the turn of the century was just so weird with the designs that they came out with these like crazy Oakley bubble sunglasses. Tag Heuer had this weird looking bracelet, and we got the Seiko Monster. And this is definitely early 2000s style design, which I love personally. They weren't afraid to take risks back then. Everything was just different and had to be new. It had to be turn of the century, year 2000, different. And the first generation SKX 781 that came out in the year 2000 actually had different hour indexes than the ones that we're going to look at here today. But this is my favorite design, which is the second generation Seiko Monster, which is the SRP309. Of course, these two are Homage watches because it appears that Seiko has simply abandoned the monster tooth design that everyone seems to love so much. Now that model came out in 2012, that was the SRP309, and it was really quickly discontinued in 2014. And as a result, these are very collectible watches. If you really wanted a genuine Generation 2 Seiko Monster, they are going for about $800 on eBay and $1,200 on Chrono24. And, I was looking for one, but my search quickly ended. And I went around looking for watches that have the same, aesthetic, spirit, design as that watch. So we're going to take a look at two watches here today from AliExpress. The one on the left is the Heimdallr. The one on the right is the Tandorio. The one on the left is a $94 watch. The one on the right is a $64 watch. And then I'm going to throw in a third alternative to the Seiko Monster design that I think has the same spirit and embodiment of that 2000s era design that I think is maybe the best alternative out there if you are looking for a watch like that. So with that, let's roll the intro and then we'll come back and look at the packaging and try these on the wrist. And then I'll talk about that third alternative watch that is actually probably my favorite. Now we'll quickly take a look at the packaging, but it is AliExpress. There's nothing too exciting to talk about here. I will leave a link in the description for both of these watches, and I will also leave a link for the SeikoGuy.com. It is a really good resource for understanding all the differences between all the different Seiko Monster generations and what changed over the years. It's just a fantastic resource that I use for research when doing this video, and I think it's worth sharing. We did get this weird Heimdallr shark tag that has no information on it except the shark logo. So I think they probably could have saved themselves 5-10 cents and not given me that. Extra links, plastic, no owner's manual to speak of, no warranty card, nothing like that. So that's the Heimdallr packaging, and then we'll take a look at the Tandorio. In the Tandorio, it is much simpler packaging. We do get an instruction booklet, and then under that we've got a piece of foam cut out with the plastic, and I have the extra links sitting on my desk. But let's move on to the watches themselves. So taking a look at both these watches, there are obviously a lot of similarities, but you'll be surprised to know that there's actually quite a lot of differences between these two. You might think that two AliExpress watches that are homaging the same Seiko model might just come out of the same factory and therefore wear the same, and maybe you think, okay, I'll just save the 30 bucks and get the Tandorio. But I'm here to tell you that there actually are a lot of differences, and I think it is worth spending the extra $30 on the Heimdallr. That's a little bit of a spoiler, I suppose, but we'll talk about all the differences and you can make that decision for yourself. So with that, let's talk about the differences here. Of course, we've got a little bit of a shading difference here in the dial. We have what I would call like Doxa orange, or I suppose Monster orange on the left, and then we have this kind of darker, almost like a faded burnt orange, like a University of Texas orange on the Tandorio. We got some font differences here where it says automatic divers 200 meters. Also just the placement of the text on the dial is slightly different. Of course, we've got different logo. It appears to be different hands. The Heimdallr hand on the hour is a little bit larger than the one on the Tandorio. It seems that the minute hand is a little bit thinner than the Tandorio as well. The indexes, for the most part, look the same, although there seems to be a little bit more bold contrasting and highlighting around the indexes on the Heimdallr. We definitely have more of a blue hue and highlight here on the Heimdallr's crystal, so you'll notice that for sure. I actually don't know which I prefer, to be honest with you. They both claim to have anti-reflective coating, but as far as that like curved crystal goes, that sapphire crystal, I don't notice a ton of difference in distortion, and I really don't notice much difference in terms of like readability of the dial. So whether you like that tint or not, I guess is the only subjective difference here. Take a quick look at the bezel action here. A little mushy, I guess. You know, I actually prefer the bezel action of the Tandoori over the Heimdallr, both audibly and just feel overall. Look at the movements in both of these models here. They are both an NH36A that is identical to the caliber 4R36 that you would have found in the second gen SRP309 from Seiko. It's actually the same caliber that's currently used in the modern Seiko Monster, and let's say the SRP-H75. The first generation Seiko Monster had the caliber 7S26, which did not have hacking or hand winding. Happy to say these both do have hacking, as I've demonstrated here, and they both do hand wind. The movement in the Heimdallr is running about 10 to 12 seconds plus or minus a day at the moment, and the Tandoori is actually about 26 to 30 seconds off a day, and it does seem that the beat error is quite a bit worse on the Tandoori than it is on the Heimdallr. So looking at lume on both of these watches, it does appear that they both have the same lume color, which they claim is C3 Super Luminova, which should glow green under the UV light. Take a look at the case profiles here. We've got the Heimdallr in my left hand and the Tandorio on my right. We have pretty much identical case profile here. It does appear a little bit thicker on the Tandorio, probably because of the case back, from what I can tell. Drilled lugs on both. We've got very similar notching on both as well. So I'm going to actually pop off both of the bracelets here, and we'll look at the case back and the spring bars and things like that. If I didn't already mention it, they both have 20mm lug width, which is identical to the Seiko as well. Should be pretty straightforward. That was very easy to do. We have nice fat spring bars here on the Heimdallr, which is what you want to see for sure. So we'll see if the Tandorio is the same. We've got a Heimdallr logo there on the case back. So let's take off that 12 o'clock side here on the Tandorio. And what have we got as far as spring bars? A little bit thinner, so I'll pull the spring bars in view here. Doesn't seem like it's a cheap spring bar, but this is what you'd want to see in a nice heavy dive watch like this Seiko Monster. So another point, I suppose, goes to the Heimdallr there. So other than the slight sizing differences there on the case back, there's not too much to talk about there. So we'll move on to, let's say, the finishing underside this bracelet. As far as polishing goes, it does appear that they put a little bit more time on the finishing on the Heimdallr. Flipping that over and looking at the clasp itself, we have a high polish sign with 3 points of micro adjust on both. The mechanism itself appears to be, for the most part, identical. Really nice, satisfying click to it. And we have no diver's extension to speak of or anything like that. Just 3 points of micro adjust as mentioned. So as far as the clasp is concerned, other than the small visual differences, it appears that they are, for the most part, identical. So in terms of both bracelets, there's not a ton of differences. Visually speaking, there were cotter pins used in the Tandorio and pins and collars used on the Heimdallr. The sizing experience of the Heimdallr was vastly superior, in my opinion, to the Tandorio. People don't like pins and collars, but they went in and out very smoothly of all the links. I had no problem sizing the Heimdallr, whereas the cotter pins of the Tandorio actually got stuck quite a bit, and I actually had to remove them at times with needle nose pliers, and they were just as equally difficult to get back into the links. So I would say my personal preference is the Heimdallr, having sized both of them. And also it just goes a long way to stop some of the rattliness and flex that you get with cotter pins. The Tandorio's bracelet does appear to flex a little bit more on my wrist as I wear it than the Heimdallr does. So I'm going to put the bracelets back on, then we'll throw it on the wrist and we'll show you how each one wears. So for reference, I have a 17cm wrist, which is 6.7 inches. I have both bracelets sized identically as far as where the links are positioned and how many have been removed, so they should wear virtually identical. Of course, this is a dive watch, so it is not a subtle or subdued look. As far as wrist presence goes, I would expect some with a Seiko Monster. I really like the way that this looks quite a bit. As far as case height and everything, it's very nicely proportioned overall. The weight and overall balance of the watch is really nice. Let's throw on the Tandorio. So here we have the Tandorio. Again, this is a 17cm wrist, which is 6.7 inches. I have the micro adjust set to the same position, and we have a very nice balanced look to the watch. The bracelet still looks really nice, and it's just a good looking watch in general. I really like the look of both of them. In terms of my preferences, again, I like the dial color of the Heimdallr a lot more. In my experience, it is probably closer to what I would expect from the original Monster orange. This orange is, to me, more of a traditional dive watch orange than this kind of UT Austin Texas burnt orange look dial that we've got going on with the Tandorio. Almost across the board, it seems like the experience of the Heimdallr is just a little bit better on every possible metric. $30 difference in price between the two watches is a no-brainer to me. You're still well under $100 getting either one of these watches on sale. Now, having said that, there is a third watch that I did say I was going to talk about a little bit that is still sold today new by the manufacturer and embodies a lot of that same Y2K design era and has a lot of that same spirit as that original Gen 2 Monster. So I'll pull both of these watches aside and I'll show you the watch I have here on my wrist today, which is the Citizen Orca. And I think this is actually my favorite alternative to that Gen 2 Seiko Monster. And I think you'll agree that it has a lot of the same design quirkiness and characteristics of the 2000s era. If you're going to go for that era of design and find a dive watch that really kind of ticks all the boxes, I have a really hard time not recommending this watch over any of the other ones we talked about today. The EcoDrive movement inside is awesome. It's a solar movement with 6 months of battery life, plus or minus 15 seconds a month in accuracy. It is date only. There's no day function, so if you look at your wrist, it's not going to say Monday or Tuesday. It's a 46 millimeter case with 14 millimeter lug width, mineral crystal instead of sapphire, but it does have micro adjust on the bracelet. Of course, the watch actually comes with a strap at $250, and it's this really nice kind of Orca rubber strap. I found it to be a little bit too long for me and my wrist, but it does have this really cool like Orca look to it. It's got the little tail and I don't know, it's really fun. I love this watch a lot. And for another $130, I got this bracelet shipped to me from eBay, and I really think that it is worth considering as an alternative to either of the Seiko Monster homages we've got here. Whether you're a Seiko fanatic or a Citizen fanatic, I think you can agree both watches look really cool and really harken back to that era from so long ago that I'm starting to get nostalgic for. Highly, highly recommend that if you're in the market for a Seiko Monster or a Monster 2 specifically, that you consider something like the Citizen Orca, because it really does have a lot of that charm and character that these watches had. So that's the end of the video. What do you guys think? Leave your comments down below. If you're looking for a Y2K era watch, what would you recommend looking at? Do you think we should maybe pull out one of those old Tag Heuers with the weird bracelets? Or should you buy one of these two, the Heimdallr or the Citizen Orca? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.